Presiding Officer, the Horizon scandal is rightly causing great concern, and it is important to first of all recognise the tireless work of campaigners who have led efforts for justice. Anyone wrongly convicted as a result of the Horizon scandal should have their conviction reversed and be entitled to compensation. The Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission have already referred 7 cases back to the Appeal Court for a fresh appeal, and 2 of these have had their convictions overturned on appeal so far. We are, however, looking at what more can be done. We are looking at the idea of a pardon scheme. But I am conscious that the UK Government have made a compensation scheme that requires a conviction to be reversed by an appeal court, and that's a requirement before you can be in receipt of compensation. I have therefore today written to the UK Secretary of State for Justice to ask for a meeting to discuss how best we can work together and ensure that anyone wrongly convicted as a result of the Horizon scandal can have their conviction reversed and still be entitled to compensation.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for the answer. By the end of 2023, only 16 people in Scotland had come forward to have their conviction overturned. There are many more who were not convicted, but for whom the false accusation severely impacted their reputation, career and mental health. The full number of victims in Scotland is not yet known. What discussion have the Scottish Government had with the Crown Office and Prosecutor Fiscal Service regarding the number of people in Scotland potentially wrongly prosecuted, and does it expect to be liable for the compensation cost?
Cabinet Secretary. Presiding Officer, Mr Chowdhury is quite right to point out the massive personal impact on all of those who have been affected, and of course the Scottish Government will have discussions with a full range of justice partners, because it is imperative that in this Parliament we stand up for everyone in Scotland who has been affected by the Horizon scandal. It might be useful, Presiding Officer, if I just quickly intimate the steps, the proactive steps that have already been taken by the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission. They have proactively, on receipt of information on those who may be affected, have proactively written to around 80 people who could be affected with information, and actually encouraging people to make applications to the Criminal Conviction Review body. And it's very important that we send out a message to those who believe that they have been a victim of a miscarriage of justice, that they do make those applications to the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission, which of course is continuing its work. And of course it's important to say that the Appeal Court is also continuing its work. But the actions of the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission, I believe, is the first systemic effort of any jurisdiction in the UK to contact all of those individuals potentially affected.
I was expecting an answer for if we are liable for compensation. The Post Office has set aside $244 million in compensation for the potential victims. However, many victims have now died without being able to claim this compensation to clear their names. Yet, Fujitsu, the company who created the Horizon system, have not faced any financial repercussion and have reportedly been awarded more than 150 government contracts since. What discussion are the Scottish Government having with the UK Government regarding the responsibility of Fujitsu in this scandal?
Cabinet Secretary. Presiding Officer, as I intimated in my original answer, I have, of course, today written to the UK Government about how we can work together and take matters forward. In terms of the issue of compensation, it's important to recognise that anyone convicted because of the failings of the Horizon IT system can apply for compensation via the scheme set up by the UK Government, and it's important that we encourage and support people to do so. The scheme is available for anyone to apply if they have been a victim of a miscarriage of justice where their convictions were reversed on appeal out of time, or if they have spent time in prison as a result of a wrongful conviction or charge.
Fergus Ewing.
Presiding Officer, does the Cabinet Secretary agree that any conviction which has resulted since the introduction of the flawed Horizon system must be unsafe and flawed and should be quashed, and will therefore the Scottish Government, working with the UK Government, consider, if necessary, emergency legislation so that this greatest miscarriage of justice of our time can be redressed? And finally, in order to be sure that everyone whose lives have been ruined gets compensation, would the Cabinet Secretary consider taking proactive steps, either herself or through an agency, to reach out to every single sub-postmaster and mistress that has possibly been affected by this in Scotland, in order to make sure that they get the compensation that they richly deserve?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, as I again intimated in my original answer, the Scottish Government is open to taking further action. We want to take action that is first and foremost most effective for those who have been impacted by this scandal here in Scotland, and in that sense we have an open mind to the best way forward. We will of course work with the UK Government, who have particular responsibilities in this regard. I would also intimate again to Mr Ewan that actually the action taken by the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission has been very proactive. In spring, going back to spring 2020, the Commission decided that as a matter of policy that it would make any reasonable effort to locate those who might have been affected and to encourage them to apply to the Commission so that any conviction could be overturned. And therefore that is the gateway to ensuring that people receive their appropriate compensation. But can I assure Mr Ewan and other members that we are of course looking at the wide range of issues, because first and foremost we want to play our part in standing up for people in Scotland who have been affected, and we want to play our part. It's a responsibility to play our part in helping to right a wrong undertaken by Post Office Limited and the scandal surrounding that.
Russell Finlay.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. During 3 years as Justice Secretary, it appears that Humza Yousaf didn't hold a single meeting about the Post Office Horizon scandal, a scandal that's now firmly on the agenda because of a TV drama. Former police officer Mary Philp was not convicted, but she went to her grave wrongly accused of theft. And her daughter Myra, who has campaigned doggedly for years, wants to know when all Scottish victims will have their convictions quashed and names cleared, and it points out that these powers lie with Scottish ministers.
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, what I'll certainly endeavour to do on behalf of this Government is to work collaboratively with everyone to ensure that everyone affected in Scotland can access justice and can right a wrong where that has done. It is unfortunate that Mr Finlay has sought to overly politicise this matter when this problem has been in the making since 1999. By the Post Office, a UK-wide body scrutinised under reserved powers by successive UK government ministers. And of course, where he is correct to say is that the Post Office can't prosecute in Scotland. Only the Crown Office in Scotland can prosecute. The independent Crown Office and indeed independent of politicians. And if this scandal shows one thing, it should be the prize in having an independent prosecution system, and not one where we have a vested interest such as the Post Office able to pursue prosecutions, because there are now hundreds of people living with the consequences of that, not just here in Scotland but across the UK.